To wrap things up, I'd just like to cover some of the quotes that I got in doing my research. It's called Managing Digital Products in a Newsroom Context, and it's linked in the module so you can read all the comments. But here are a few highlights. The first series of things that I asked people about were their process, and the most common response was, it depends. There is a lot of experimentation going on in terms of process, and many said that it depends on the size and scope of the product, but for the most part, each use a cross-functional team that makes decisions with influence at key touch points from the company leadership. So it depends on the organization as well as the product. But quite frequently, the most common response in the process area was on teamwork, working with cross-functional teams, teams of designers and developers, and how important it was to be able to work with people that were in different functions. Another area that was frequently discussed was the role of data in informing product management decisions. Respondents said that everything that they did was data informed, and that they're building metrics into all their visualizations and projects so that they'd have some means to assess them. Some even went as far as saying we really should be doing more of that. So again, emphasizing the experimental and the evolving nature of this role. When asked about how the journalism is actually represented in these products, many people had responses that included having journalists as part of the team, still having journalism represented as a separate function instead of an integrated function, but they said that having editorial people consulted as part of the process or on the team was critical to making sure that their interests and their needs were represented. Some called it a tricky issue. It raises a lot of those church and state issues that are a part of journalism, the editorial versus the business side. But they said that product managers are generally viewed as commercial side and not editorial, but that is changing, and that's important for it to change. Another response was fairly long in terms of how this person described the role of product management, not being editorial and really being considered a fairly junior role where this person was coming from, and calling this as an unambitious approach. There's not a lot of thinking about how journalistic values fit in, but if they're going to be able to make products that people want, this is going to have to also change. As I mentioned earlier, my main interest in doing research in this area was to identify and learn more about the roles and skills so I could build it into curriculum and help drive students into that area. So here are some of the comments that respondents made about the required roles and skills for product managers. Very first and most importantly, communication. They must be incredible communicators, and they should love media if they want to be a product manager in this business. Related to communication is empathy, the ability to be able to understand somebody else's point of view and to have the capacity to be able to understand those things, to have tools that allow you to understand what other people are thinking and feeling, both from working on the teams that you're working on as well as building that into the product so that users are represented. And then there were technical skills. This was not the most frequently represented or the skill that was considered the most important, but it is considered something that is core to what is being done. Much more important to product managers is that they have the ability to have a strong user focus and understand the business, that they're good at facilitating teams that have design, technology, and business people in them, but the ability to be a technical expert, a technical competency was not necessarily considered the most important. And this is a change from how this role has been considered when it was traditionally under the engineering function. And finally, it was very evident from the responses that I received from a range of people that this role is experimental and continuously evolving. One of the comments was, "It is my hope that product management will move closer to the core of newsrooms and not further away and be marginalized to the business side." So the future of product management is wide open. It really does require people who have the insight and the ability to make decisions and to craft the role for how it's going to be used in the future. So that's it for week 1. I hope you found this introduction helpful. Next week, you'll learn more about the practical applications of developing a product management culture and strategy with Erin Pilheffer. But for now, please join me in the forums. And the first question that I'd like for you to answer is, what are some of your favorite digital media products and why? And then secondly, describe what kinds of digital products your organization is developing and describe your role in the development and distribution of these products. You'll also have a quiz, and that will wrap things up for this lesson. So I will see you in the forums, and I look forward to your input.